Wellington was established around about 1695, and by then it was known as the Limit Valley because of the limits that the mountains posed around the town. And then later on it became the Wagenmakers Valley, in French the Val de Charonne, because all the wagons that came from the Cape came through Wellington, and the wagons, they were restored here in town, and that was where Wagenmakers Valley, die Vallei van die Waalmakers, that is where that started. Only in 1840 we adapted the name Wellington with no connection to anyone. It was either Napier or Wellington, and we got Wellington. My name is Olivia Lacordia, and we are in the beautiful town of Wellington. I'm the museum manager at the local museum. The fancy name will be the curator, but that is not what we normally do. I think the whole crux of the job is mostly to manage the museum and to look after the history of our town. History is important simply because I think we live history every day. And unfortunately, people don't know that we live history every day. They think their ordinary lives are not important, but here we try to make history even more important, to say that your ordinary life is actually important to us and to the community of Wellington.
Ek dink definitief ons het nogal 'n ryk geskiedenis in Suid-Afrika en seker maar in die wêreld om te wil skryf oor die plekke waar ons vandaan kom. Ek weet vir my is plek baie belangrik. So ek het in die Oos-Kaap groot geword. Ek sal nog baie skryf oor die see en goeie die plek waar ek vandaan kom, en dit is ook so vir Wellington. Ek meen in Wellington ons het nogal so lekker skrywers herkoms. Ons het groot digters hier soos Breytenbach, Adam Small, maar ook vir my nou wat 'n musikant is, mense soos Valiant Swart is ook oorspronklik van hier af, en Valiant het self songs oor Wellington en so op die ouene. Ek dink musiek is 'n manier vir mense om toegang te vind tot 'n plek en om 'n plek te leer ken ook deur die lirieke, en dan later dink jy, "Yes, maar daai plek, daar's 'n sang oor. Ek wil 'n bietjie gaan kyk, hoe is dit?" Ja. As die klopse weer tot laat by die stadion musiek maak, sal ek weet dit is alweer nog 'n jaar. En vir 'n paar weke lank word die sterre bo Kerkstraat groot soos gloeilampe wat stringe bo ons hang. En die kloof strek uit tot hier onder by my, hier by my. En ek weet ek kan iemand wees, al is ek klein, al is ek klein. Vrede vir ons, sy verteer die vallei en bring vir my troos na 'n jaar langse reis, en dra soos 'n vleer aan 'n lint weer die onskuld van 'n kind tot op my stoep in die wêreld in, tot op my stoep in die wêreld in. Ek is Deon Meiring en ons is in Wellington in die Wes-Kaap, nie in Nieu-Seeland nie. Ek moet net altyd die onderskeid tref.
Wellington's population is so diverse. You can have, it is phenomenal actually. You would never be able to say it fits into one particular category. If you had to put the whole of Wellington's population at one table, you would be flabbergasted to see how varied the personalities are. And that's what makes it such a beautiful town. It accommodates everybody, from yoga classes right through to tow trek. My name is Tom Turner, and this is our family farm, Bontebok Ridge Reserve in Wellington. Well, when I used to do game capture and wildlife translocation, I wanted to be a Bontebok Baron. So I used to phone my dad and say, I'm sending Bontebok back from all over South, or the Western Cape. And we started with many Bontebok. And in fact, they're a very difficult and finicky species to breed with. They need a lot of space and not a lot of competition. So although we have about 50, 60 eland, we've only got about 10 or less Bontebok. So we should have actually called our farm eland. but no, yeah, Bontebok are very special to our area. There were very few left, and so critically endangered by their numbers have recovered well. What we've tried to do on our farm is, with my background and Katja's background in managing national parks in Southern Africa, is to bring a bit of Africa back to our farm. not micromanage, macromanage, take down fences. We're pulling out all our vines to bring the area back to its indigenous state, and then to allow people to see what it is like to do conservation farming and rather farm with nature than against. So it's a magical space we're in at the moment. School groups coming through the farm. It's important to expose the youth to natural farming rather than lots of chemicals and just going back to basics.
You know, I think what's nice about Wellington is the openness, the freedom, wonderful schools, you know, that the kids my kids at our school, Higurist, they could go to school, I think, up till standard 3 bare feet, and and it was just fantastic. And after school they could go wherever. At that stage we used to live in town, where we still got the guest house, which is also a massive place, 6,000 square meters in the middle of town, and the tennis court. And so they were playing, they're outside, the real South African kids. And then on the farms, they're in the mountains and in the dams, and they're hunting and fishing and, that type of thing. So, and they're riding bicycle, because it's so safe and easy, for people to come to our farm. Even for young novice riders, there's 20, 30 kilometers of gravel road with hardly any cars. We get a lot of people coming here. We've got a single track. Wellington's got one of the best single tracks in the world. That's why the Cape Epic comes through here every year. And our farm, every year, the Cape Epic technical stop, and a watering stop. They come right past my house. And that's fantastic, So we have a lot of events. We've just had the Cape Town 10s here. We're only limited to 2,000 people. They played rugby on my cricket field. We have a lot of mountain bike races from here, also run the vines. So Wellington is in that respect very unique. I'm Scalk and we're on the Welbedacht wine estate where wine's been made since 1830.
Wellington is 'n dorp met 300 jaar geskiedenis wat diep spore getrap het. En ons noem Wellington die hart van die wynlande, want dit is 'n dorp met 'n hart. My naam is Miranda en ons is in Wellington. Ek is die lede verhouding bestuurder van die Drakensberg Local Tourism Association. So ek wil nie sê Wellington is anders of Parel is anders of Stellenbosch. Dit is vir my 'n eenheid. Elke dorp is deel van die prentjie van die wynlande. En so vorm dit soos 'n puzzle wat in mekaar pas. En op ouens het jy hierdie prentjie van die wynlande. Met elke dorp met sy uniekheid en ook ooreenkomste soos die wyn en wat hulle aanbied, maar tog anders.
If I had to describe the winelands, it's a beautiful small towns with a lot to offer, predominantly wine farms, but not only that, there's beautiful historical buildings, a lot of history in each town, not only in Wellington, a lot of different characters, interesting characters from all walks of life. So it's very down to earth, but has got a lot to offer. My name is Caroline Jeffrey, and we're in Wellington in the Winelands.
What makes Wellington special? Well, I always turn it around and say, what doesn't make Wellington special? It is just the most fabulous place, and the unfortunate thing, it is somehow been forgotten on most tourist maps. You'll find that it sounds like the winelands and everything end in Stellenbosch or Franschhoek or Paarl even, and Wellington gets forgotten. And Wellington is actually a fantastic, well-hidden secret and where people should come. They make wonderful wines, and again, you will meet and get really, really interesting, fabulous people who come, who live here in Wellington, and Wine Walk takes you and you meet those people. My name is Elaine Wegelen, and we are in beautiful Wellington. We take people for lovely trips through these magnificent vineyards and introduce them to the area, and most importantly, many fabulous characters.
Vineyards and farms have been around since 1699. So with our modern, young, dynamic winemakers, new techniques, different methods of making, new and different terroir, I think we're giving the older classic winemaker and farms definitely a run for their money. So bringing a different spin to Wellington and making it quite popular.
Breytenbach is een van die mees beroemde digters. Nie net in Holland of Frankryk of wat ook al nie. Hy in die hele wêreld. Hy het hier groot geword, hy het oor see gegaan op 'n baie jong ouderdom, met 'n Vietnamese vrou getrou, net kortliks is toe nou nie in die tyd van apartheid toegelaat om terug te kom nie. Hy het egter, want hy gee so om vir die land en sy mense, en hy is toe gefonnis vir 9 jaar in eensame aanhouding, waarvan hy 7 uitgedien het in die tronk in die tyd van apartheid. Van daar af, hy het geskryf in die tronk, gedig en wat ook al. En teruggegaan Frankryk toe, waar hulle 'n plek het, as ook in Spanje, in Girona, Catalonië. En homself gevestig as 'n digter, wat baie min mense weet, 'n baie goeie skilder. My naam is Annegret Erasmus Coetzee en ek is by Wellington en in die Breytenbach Sentrum, soos ek nou hier sit. Dis 'n kuns- en kultuursentrum, 'n plek vir die gemeenskap, plek waar ons kan deel, kunstig wees op alle vlakke. En ons het in 2008 begin en hier sit ons nog steeds.
Throughout the years, different people came through Wellington and stayed in Wellington. I think the San and the Koi, they have always been here. We have records of them in the paintings in the mountains, that they have always been here, and that is something that I think we should treasure. The French Huguenots came later on, and later on the English came, and all those had an influence on the population and how the population is composed. So there's really a vibrance, there's a minglemus of people, all kinds, all races. We have a huge Muslim community also in Wellington. We have church influence was big, so also that played a part in how the population of Wellington is compiled.
Well, I think a visit to Wellington is a must. In real international terms of day travel, you don't want to go further than an hour and a half, either, out on the way back. So, Stellenbosch is the well-traveled area. Now people are going to Robertson and further afield. We're 45 minutes technically from the outskirts of Cape Town to Wellington. And it's a beautiful ride out here. And in Wellington, there's a lot to do, to overnight for a night or two, whatever. We've got the James Sedgwick distillery, where arguably of the best whiskies outside of Scotland's been made. We've got a lot of wine farms here. And there are still gravel roads that you can travel on between the farms, where Stellenbosch is maybe, and they're doing a wonderful job of marketing the Western Cape. It's become nearly like Sonoma and California. Yeah, you don't see cars, and it's very rural. You can come out here and spend a day, have a picnic, walk through the vineyards, and so Wellington in that respect is very laid back with great wines, great people. I think it's got character. I think it's got a charisma to it, which other places haven't got.
Wellington is, from a point of view of a little town. When I grew up here and I went to school in Cape Town, everyone said Wellington was on the other side of the tunnel because they thought it was Worcester. Now Wellington has developed so beautifully. It's a very cosmopolitan town, and I think very proud to have seen the growth in Wellington. It's developed into a very universal space for people. It's not just an agricultural community. It's got beautiful developments where people from town actually work from Wellington and go into town once a week maybe now. So it's blossomed.
In Wellington, the saying will be, we're from the WAX, 7655, #7655, which is our postal code. And I think that is quite, where you're from the WAX, it's quite a thing. People will wear the t-shirts saying with the slogan on, from WAX, and will be like, where, and it is very to a certain ethnic group, but it is nice and it has a ring to it. It has a little sassiness to it.
Ek sit hier so in die Breytenbach Sentrum en ek dink regtig een van die mooiste, waarskynlik die heel mooiste ding wat al ooit oor Wellington geskryf is, kom uit Breytenbach se pen. Dit is 'n bekende gedig, maar dit is een van daai gedigte wat jy moet werd is om oor en oor te hoor en te lees. So die laaste paar reëls is iets soos, ek gaan dit dalk nie 100% reg onthou nie, maar kom saam in my sterf, in my na my Vader gaan, Wellington toe, waar die engele met wurms vetsterre uit die hemel hengel. Laat ons sterf en vergaan en vrolik wees. My Vader het 'n groot boardinghuis. I think that's beautiful. Dis baie mooi. So ja, en dis Wellington.